What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another video. Today we're checking out geography now, Iceland. We've done India, Denmark and Finland. Now Iceland is considered sort of Viking country. I know India isn't, but we were kind of going from the top of Europe down. Someone requested India, so I done it. And we're going to continue. We're going to do Iceland, then Norway, and then gradually move through Europe and then go and do some other ones. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, be sure to suggest them in the comments below. Also, be sure to subscribe and help us get to that 100 subscribers as quick as possible. But yeah, let's get into geography now, Iceland.
Guys, as you know, I went to Iceland earlier this year, and in all honesty, if you just want to get a real taste of Iceland better than I could ever provide, check out my friend, this guy, Ásgeir. Subscribe to his channel. He helped me out when I was there, and he knows Iceland. Ásgeir, check out the Ás. Yeah, keep that one, bro. All for you.
One thing I do know about Iceland
It's time to learn geography.
is that
Hey everyone, I'm your host Barbie.
in terms of your name, you take your father's name. Like, you know how they all like Hafþórsson or Bjornsson, that's like their names. Like, you have like your father's name and you add like the son to the end, which means like son of your father, right? That's why when they get married, the wives don't take their names. But yeah, let's continue.
So, full disclosure before we start, my pronunciation for Icelandic words is gonna suck so bad in this episode. I do not advise you to play a drinking game for every time I mispronounce something. You will get alcohol poisoning and you might die. I repeat, you could die watching this. Iceland! Just the name invokes an obvious clue about where it is geographically. First of all, the country is located at the confluence of the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans east of Greenland and just south of the Arctic Circle. The country is divided into 6 constituencies, 3 big ones, and 3 of which are confusing because they basically just split up the most populous areas in the west. Reykjavik is the capital and the northernmost capital in the world, which is split into 2 constituencies, north and south, whereas the southwest constituency is divided into 4 non-contiguous exclaves, but they still act as 1 constituency, not 4. So it's 6 small separate entities that act as 3 constituencies. Get it?
No.
Great! This was done to help with the imbalance of the sparsely populated outer regions with voting, since about a third of the entire country is located in the Reykjavik metropolitan area. Nonetheless, most of the country still refers to areas being located in the traditional 8 region zones, which are divided like this. The country has many domestic airports, but the one large-scale international airport is Keflavik International, and the next 2 busiest ones are Reykjavik and Akureyri. Reykjavik and Akureyri are domestic airports except for seasonal service to Greenland internationally. Iceland's domain is mostly encompassed around the main island, however they do own some smaller islands and archipelagos off their coasts, the most populated ones being Heimaey, Hrísey, and Grímsey, and some in the south, like the newest island that just popped up in the 60s, Surtsey, which is off limits to anyone except permitted scientists who study it. Otherwise, Iceland may be rugged, but the islanders sure have paved a way for you to see it all. The Ring Road. This guide takes you all around the entire country, and depending on how much time you want to stop and see the sights, it could take you anywhere between 4-ish to 7 days to complete. Hey Brandon, you went on the Ring Road, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take you?
About 9 days.
Okay, maybe my facts were wrong. Otherwise, some top notable man-made sites and landmarks might include the National Gallery, the Viking World Museum, the stone carvings of Paul Guðmundsson, the U.S. Navy D-3 plane wreckage site, the Viking Village, the Sea Monster Museum, pretty much all of Akureyri, the Whale Museum, the Design Center. All over the countryside, you can find turf houses with grass on their roofs, the country's iconic landmark and beautifully constructed icicle-shaped church, Now, as interesting as those man-made sites and landmarks may be, they pale in comparison to what the actual land has to offer. Let's jump into the fire and ice. Alright, let me just put it this way. Iceland doesn't need an amusement park or roller coasters because the entire island is just like a wonderland in itself. First of all, Iceland is the 18th largest island in the world and the 2nd largest in all of Europe. The entire country lies transected on the mid-Atlantic range, which divides the North American tectonic plate with the Eurasian plate, splitting open about 2 centimeters every year. You can even see the divide for yourself with your own eyes. Nearby Reykjavik at Thingvellir, with the largest natural lake, the land splits open and you can literally walk from Eurasia to North America. Underneath the waters, you can get even closer to the divide at the Silfra, that was easy, known as the clearest water diving spot in the world, where visibility can go up to 100 meters. Over 80% of the country is mountainous, with the tallest point, Hvannadalshnúkur. 11% of the country is covered with 6 main glaciers, the largest one in the southeast, Vatnajökull, and the smallest one, which just erupted in 2010, Eyjafjallajökull. With hundreds of volcanoes and about 30 of them are consistently active, as the longest
He's
river,
struggling
the
with the name,
Fjórsá, meanders through the deep central Hofsjökull glacier to the ocean. So basically, the entire island is geothermal. Everywhere you go, chances are you can probably find a natural hot spring hidden somewhere in the remote wilderness. Not only that, but Iceland also harbors and capitalizes off of this unique, valuable resource as much as possible. When the first Vikings came in, they were like,
Wow, it is cold in here. I mean, I knew Norway was chilly, but dang!
is there anything here we can use to not, like, freeze to death? Yeah, they killed a lot of sheep and made more wool clothing, but then eventually they found out how to generate power with the hot springs. Geothermal energy provides about a quarter of the country's power alone, and the rest is mostly hydroelectric from dams and renewable sources. Nonetheless, only about 1% of their land is arable, mostly confined to the south peripheral lowlands where root vegetables and kale and cabbage and cauliflower are grown, alongside numerous geothermal heated greenhouses that harvest warm climate produce like tomatoes, cucumbers, and yes, even bananas, making Iceland the northernmost banana producing country in the world. Of course, the country also hosts a unique variety of Arctic wildlife like puffins, foxes, seals, narwhals, and the national animals, the griff falcon, and the famous highly accredited Icelandic horses. By the way, yes, it's true, Iceland is the only country with no mosquitoes. However, they do have 2 species of midges.
He said midget.
Midges, which are similar to mosquitoes, and actually one of the species does actually bite, so it's kind of like having mosquitoes anyway.
Iceland has biting midgets.
Keith, speaking of which, traditional Icelandic food is, let's just say, even my Icelandic friend said this.
This is so disgusting. Why would anyone eat this?
Yeah, let's just say the Vikings had some very unorthodox tactics when it came to food preservation. Dishes like sheep's head, stockfish jerky, head cheese, sheep testicles, and the famous haukar. What is it exactly? Well, let's just say...
Hey, so I got the shark, but it's poisonous. How do I eat it?
Oh, I know. Let's bury it into the ground until it smells like urine, then dry it out for a couple months, and then cut off the brown crust, and then serve it.
Yeah, obviously. I knew that.
There are some delicious, redeeming Icelandic foods, though. They are known for making some amazing smoked lamb served with bean salad and grilled haddock and herring dishes. You can literally drink almost any water from any stream, pond, or lake or river in Iceland. The whole island kind of acts like a filtration device for the glaciers. You have places like the smooth, conical Kirkjufell Mountain. Brandon has a tattoo of that. The Skaftafell Crystal Ice Cave in Vatnajökull. The Kjolur Trail in the Highlands. Literally like every 5 kilometers you'll find a waterfall. And don't forget the geysers in the south. Pretty much all of the Westfjords region is empty and beautiful for you to explore with no tourists. The sea monster of Kvitserkur, Dragni Island, Grjótgjá Caves, Mayfell Green Volcano on black sand beaches, Krafla and Naumskarth, Drangsnes hot tubs, the largest hot spring Knúkver, and the open exposed fossils of Hallbjarnarskarsbur. If you went against my disclaimer and played that drinking game, you should be in an ambulance by now. Speaking of drinking, Icelanders are awesome people to socialize with. Let's meet them, shall we? Now, if the Nordics were a family, Iceland would be like the little brother that got lost at sea from a shipwreck, got stranded on an island, and became a wild man. First of all, Iceland has a population of about 335,000 people and is the most sparsely populated country in Europe. About 92% of the country identifies as ethnically Icelandic, about 4% are Polish, and the remainder are other immigrants from all over, mostly Nordic, West European, and a few Asians mixed in as well. They also use the Icelandic kroner as their currency, they use the Type-C plug outlet, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now, being Icelandic is actually very unique genetically in contrast to the rest of their Nordic cousins. Basically, way back yeehaw, the Vikings were like, hey, we're sick of Norway. Let's make a new home. Oh, but wait. We need women. But most of the Norwegian women were like, So they made a quick stop to the British Isles and kidnapped a bunch of Irish and Celtic women and brought them over. About 70% of all their women, that is. To this day, a typical Icelander actually has a portion of Irish or Celtic roots in their blood. Now, obviously, if you are one of the few lucky people that hasn't ended up in an ambulance yet, you'll have noticed that the Icelandic language is incredibly unique, often touted as one of the hardest languages in the world to learn. I mean, half the time the letters make no sense. F can make a V or a P sound, sometimes P and a T make a F sound, sometimes the G makes a W sound. These 2 letters both make a Th sound, and sometimes when there's 2 L's, it makes like a sound. Most Nordic peoples have a hard time cracking the Icelandic code, except for the Faroese people on the Faroe Islands. They seem to have a similar sense of pronunciation and grammar as the Icelanders. Icelandic and Faroese are the closest languages to ancient Norse out of all the Nordic languages. If you give them a script written in ancient Norse, chances are they could probably understand it. Whereas Norwegians, Swedes, and Danes are like, ha! Nope. Now, because of its small population, Icelandic culture is very communal. Chances are everybody either knows each other or they know somebody who knows another person. Therefore, an ingrained sense of trust kind of roots itself in the mindsets of most people. This is why Iceland has one of the lowest crime rates in the entire world, sometimes topping off at number 1. And also, as of 2014, they were elected the world's most peaceful country according to the Global Peace Index. Oh, by the way, in Iceland, nobody technically has a surname. They just adopt the last name dependent on their father's first name, and they just add son or dotter after it. So, for example, a man named Alex with a father named, I don't know, Bjarki would be named Alex Bjarkison, or if it was a woman, her last name would be Bjarki Dotter. Sorry, Bjarki, you just popped in my head. You rock, man. Hope you're doing well. Icelanders are thrill seekers. They live in an extreme landscape, so they make the best of it, and they will ski, paraglide, rappel, skate, dive, jump, and experience anything that gives them adrenaline. Some of the top notable Icelandic people might include founders of Iceland, Ingólfur Arnarsson and his wife Hedvig and brother Kjörleif, Leif Erikson, the first president Svein Björnsson, musicians Sigur Rós of Monsters and Men, Emiliana Torrini, Mum, Gus Gus, of course the most famous resident Björk, Oscar-nominated director Friðrik Thor Friðriksson, Hallþór Laxness, handball superstar Olafur Stefansson, Magnus Örnskjöld, Fionn Paul, and of course everyone's favorite strongman Hafþór or Thor the Mountain, Julius Björnsson. Now, as small as Iceland is, they've made a huge impact in the world's media outlets. Somewhere in the late 90s and early 2000s, word spread fast, and to this day, tourism is almost getting out of hand as they get over 3 times their own population in tourism every year. Hotels need to be built, staff need to be hired, and diplomacy is key in operating the whole deal. Which brings us to...
I'm going to read something. I'm going to start now. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Now, Iceland has a problem. A good problem. Too many people like him now, and it's all happening too fast. First of all, Iceland has always had good ties to the USA and Canada. The US was the first to recognize Iceland as a state after independence, and both countries not only give some of the biggest business, but also house the largest communities of Icelanders outside of Iceland. Finland is like the mysterious, cool new rebel friend that they just made. They enjoy both being outsiders because although they are both Nordic, they are not considered Scandinavian. When it comes to humor, they totally get each other and click instantly with dry, semi-dark undertone jokes. Sweden is like the older brother that they love, but is too busy working on his flowcharts to hang out with. Denmark is close, although Danes practically have no idea what skiing is, considering their flat landscape. Most Icelanders learn Danish in school first before they learn English, even though they think it's pretty useless. When it comes to their best friends, most Icelanders I've talked to have said Norway and the Faroe Islands. As mentioned before, Icelanders have historical roots to Norway, and the two have had very close relations, especially since they both can relate to being subjugated under the Danes at one point in time. The Faroe Islands are like their weird cousins that totally get them and love to hang out with. It's a magical moment when an Icelander meets a Faroese person. In conclusion, Iceland is a land where cold meets hot, old meets new, small yet big, horrible fermented shark meets your dinner plate. I hope you're still alive, and if you are, stay tuned because the big guy, India, is coming up next.
We've already done India, so there you go. So that is the end of that video. Thank you all for watching if you made it to the end. Yeah, Iceland seems like a great place. I definitely want to visit it one day. But yeah, be sure to suggest me any videos you want me to watch. If it is a geography now, suggest me the country. And yeah, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.